Hi, everybody. Dan Illman, Ashley Mailloux. Two nice turf stakes races on tap at Santa Anita on Sunday. Let's kick things off with race number 4, the $100,000 Cinema. These are 3-year-olds going a mile and an eighth on the turf. Only a field of 5 in here, but it's a pretty competitive bunch.
I agree. I mean, obviously, looking at the names in here, Blueeyed George, he certainly rings a bell from his races this winter at Turfway Park. And I don't know necessarily if he's panned out, the way that the connections were hoping for, Dan. But you look at some others in here, British Isle, Final Boss, and Goldfoot, all off of really nice victories in their most recent outings.
I didn't really see any blazers out of the gate, so I'm curious as to how our friends at Timeform US project this pace. They do have Blue-Eyed George out close to the pace and breaking from post position 14. It just wasn't in the cards from him last time out at Churchill Downs. I do think he'll be close, but the way Final Boss won last time out, I wonder if John Sadler realizes this colt might be at his best when they go to the front.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I think based on his performance last time out, don't forget he was stretching out to a mile and an eighth from a 6 furlong and a 6.5 furlong event. But looking at the clips there, would have expected him to be more forward going a mile and an eighth, and he was. And it was a gate to wire performance. You just have to think he's going to be maybe a tad sharper and even more fit now. So I think Final Boss will be on the lead.
A horse with good tactical speed is coming into this race in excellent form, and that's the number 1 Goldfoot, who's seeking his 3rd consecutive victory. Let's take a look at his most recent start, and both of his wins have come at this mile and an eighth distance. Here's Goldfoot scoring a $50,000 starter allowance. He is razor sharp right now, and he's really game to squeeze through along the inside. The trip worked out, but he was also very professional.
I thought he was too. And I think Kyle Frey really has this gelding figured out very well. He's been aboard for those wins. And I think looking at his running style, like that you pointed out that he's tactical because he can be closer to it. He can close from off of it. I thought last time out he was a little further back, but by no means was he far back. And I wonder with this compact field and where he draws, he's sneaky in this spot. We don't have the morning line at this point and don't really know what it'll be, but I think he could be an okay price in here, maybe one to look at.
That's a very fair point. He is stepping up in class. That might dissuade some bettors, but I could see him working out a nice pocket trip. We know he likes to race inside. Final Boss is the number 2. You mentioned the dramatic stretch out in distance last time out. It worked very well for this colt. Here he is, just going right to the lead, and he was able to shake loose in the opening stages. A very nice ride from Hernandez, who gets this one to sprint on home. I thought he ran okay in the Eddie Logan last year. I just don't really think the trip worked for him when he was wrangled back. He's at his best when he's up close.
And I think he's just progressing at the right time. You can see they gave him a couple of months off. They stretched him out, which is maybe a tall task, but I thought the way he did it on the front end says a lot about him. And I don't want to put him and kind of pigeonhole him into one thing, but I do agree. I think he's more comfortable on the front end. If he's not on the lead, I don't think that's going to be an issue for him. I just expect him to be out front.
Blue-Eyed George has been competitive on dirt and on turf and on synthetic. He's just a versatile runner. And in his last race, he was probably overmatched in the American turf against 2 next out winners. The 4th horse, Cugino, came back to just win a stakes race at Churchill with a 91 Buyer's speed figure. Gets a little bit of class relief, good tactical speed, and I really respect these connections.
Yeah, I don't know what to make out of him in here. I feel like at least in recent performances, Dan, a couple of other horses are more captivating and more alluring to me for those reasons. I think when you look at him, he's obviously kind of taken a little bit of a step back. His race on the dirt, it was okay, but he was against his fellow Louisiana breds down at the fairgrounds, and it was a strung out field when it was all said and done. We sometimes see that in those Louisiana bred races. And then in his following start, obviously the waters were deep, but we know how big of a price the winner was in that field. So I don't want to read into maybe the tote action on him too much, but I wonder if this is maybe a way for him to gain confidence, to take that kind of step back and to stay on the turf. I mean, his turf races, that's where his 2 wins have come, but I'm curious to see his price. I think he could be too short in this field.
I think that's a good point. His stablemate, the 4 C Singer, should offer a lot more value. So far, he just hasn't broken out of the gate very well in 2 starts in North America. That's often a problem for European imports. And if this pace doesn't heat up, maybe he'll be behind the 8 ball once again. I do think with his pedigree, stretching out to a mile and an eighth might be just what the doctor ordered.
I agree. I think he wants to go a little bit longer. I think he should take a step forward, just second off the layoff. And you can see he came over here. We know it could be hit or miss when horses come over in their first start. And he didn't have that much time in between those races compared to what we've seen with some other horses where they take 4, 5, 6 months to get back to the races. And so they put him back on the shelf. And I think that was probably the right move. And, based on what they saw last time out, it didn't deter them from entering the spot. Yes, he has a stablemate in this field, but curious to see him go longer. I just don't know against this group.
British Isles seems like kind of a grinder to me, and he might have found the right field last time out when graduating, going a mile and an eighth. Let's take a look at that race right now. All in all, the trip worked out. He was able to pretty much stalk while three wide, and he's into the stretch, and he's just going to outstay these horses down to the wire. Extra distance is really going to be his friend. I wonder if he has the explosiveness to beat a field like this, but he is tactical enough to sit third or fourth, well, not too far off the lead.
And he had to face a big field there. Always curious to see how those horses come back next time out. A horse that finished a couple of behind him came back to win a maiden special weight with a 70 some buyer speed figure. Another horse won, but it was against maiden claiming ranks. So, to me, that performance was good. I like the trip that he got. I think he's more of a mile and an eighth type of horse. When we look at his two efforts at the distance, they've both been good. His number would fit this field. I don't think that has to be a stellar number. He got an 80, which is very good. A lot of the horses, though, in this short field, they're all in that same range down.
Only five in this field, but I think you can make a case for each one of these horses. So we'll take a look at our top selections in here. You're going to go with Final Boss. Pace makes the race. I think he should be aggressively ridden out of there, and he showed he could stay the trip last time.
I think he can take them gate to wire. That is why I used him on top. I really wanted to use Goldfoot as my top pick in here. I think he's sneaky, but my concern was if Final Boss gets the jump on several in here, is the race over? Just based on what we saw last time out, I think he should take a step forward, second time going long and second time off the layoff. So not maybe necessarily very creative, but I liked Goldfoot in here, and I see you go with British Isles on the outside.
I respect both of your top two selections. I wonder if British Isles has just found his distance at a mile and an eighth. He's run well both times at this distance, and maybe he's just maturing at the right time. I like his tactical speed. 213 for Ashley, 521 for me. It's the Cinema, one of two turf stakes races at Santa Anita on Sunday. Good luck.